The family is small. Cornelius Vandermeer is a warm but distant father-head, and he leaves to his wife, Henrika, the business of managing the household. From a public house beyond the Stadthaus, Vandermeer and his partners conduct a business of investments and merchant mariner. When he returns, reeking of pipe smoke, blusteringly good-natured because of ale and the flattering company of his peers, he sleeps. Iris peeks at him, sitting in the sunny garden, his head back against the wall and his mouth open. He's older than his wife. His beard is as much silver as brown, and his temples and thinning pate have gone entirely grey. His wife won't let him sit on the bench in the front of the house, in full view of the pious on their way to services or the hungry buying their evening meal. She thinks it looks common, and says so. Henrika believes in good manners. Her cheekbones are high and knobby, her wrists thin, her scent flowery and bewitching, but mostly it's her colouring that Iris admires. Coppery pink blushes and white flushes playing under flawless skin. When Henrika comes to the door of a room, it's on silent feet, as if to make a floorboard creak would be to command more attention than she deserves. Yet this is just a little drama, a masquerade, for though Henrika's step is silent, it is none the less heavy. Margareta, in the privacy of the hearth, is quick to point out to Iris that Henrika's portrait, not her husband's, takes pride of place in the reception room. The lady in yellow and black silk, a bumblebee humming to herself, the queen of the family hive, and doesn't she know it? Henrika is happy to tell the provenance of each piece of furniture, each item of decoration. The house, whole and entire, was part of Henrika's dowry. If the marriage should dissolve, she has the right to appeal to the law to reclaim all her assets, says Margareta incredulously. The wealth of this marriage rests on what she inherited from her father. Her husband brought to the Holy Union only business sense and good humour. Iris, yawning, says, "What you learn in 3 or 4 days. How can you know about this? She's far too private to be confiding in you." "Schoenmacher has lived in Haarlem all his life. He knows everything, though he pretends to be bored about it," says Margareta. "He tells me that Henrika holds the purse strings." She twists her lower lip, an expression of reluctant approval at Henrika's power. "Do you see how Cornelius and Henrika disagree about their daughter Clara? The henpecked man must leap to respond to every complaint that Henrika makes." "Oh, Clara," says Iris. "Clara," she says again, biting her lip. For it's Iris who has the main worry now. It's Iris's job to befriend the distant, suspicious child, to gain her trust, to teach her English, to vary her days, and she hasn't made such a good start of it. If Clara is indeed a changeling, there's no word spoken about it by her parents. She's considered a stroppy child, sullen, secretive, and ordinary. Her carrying the tulips into the parlour to show the visiting bear investors must have been taxing on her, for she doesn't show up to meet the new household members. In fact, Iris sees very few signs of Clara's existence in the house at first, though she hears some, a soft footfall, the sound of a dropped or a thrown plate crashing on the floor, a cry of alarm such as a small child might utter when in the throes of a bad dream. Still the obscure child, even when Iris is living under the same roof. After several days of Clara simply refusing to appear at all, Henrika brings Iris to the door of Clara's room and calls in to her daughter. "Please, my dear, I want you to meet your new friend." "No." The sound comes out like a little smothered yelp, as if even in the middle of the day Clara is huddled beneath bedclothes. She won't come out of her room. The next day Iris says loudly, "I am very lonely." She draws a deep breath in the gloom of the upstairs hall, and she leans her breast against Clara's door. She tries to make her voice wedge itself through a crack between the planks. "You were kind to my sister once. You let her take your little toy. So I want to talk to you." "Go away." Henrika's smile at Iris is brief but forgiving. "She's an unusual child, and I'm patient with her strange ways," she confides. "You have to be patient too." "But how can I teach her English if I can't even see her?" "She comes around. Go and help your mother then. If I can coax her out with the promise of something special, I'll come and find you." "What does she want more than anything?" Henrika purses her lips. "She wants to be alone and to play by herself." "Well," thinks Iris, "I'm not going to be the most welcome thing ever to enter her life then." But there's not much that Iris can do about it, so she wanders downstairs. Margareta says, "If you can't pry Clara out of her room, then take Ruth out for some exercise. Your sister the ox is banging into things again, which means she's not stretching her limbs as she ought." They wander up and down the streets. Harlem is becoming an easy place in which to feel at home. In the street next to St. Bavo's, women hustle baskets of cloth on their backs. Men trundle wheelbarrows with kegs of ale. The window shutters, which drop down during the day, serve as ledges for the display of wares. Iris and Ruth inspect the goods, a pastime that costs nothing and annoys the shopkeepers. But if the Dutch find Ruth as grotesque as the English did, they keep it to themselves. Only a few children run after her and taunt her. There is always St. Bavo's to slip into if the hubbub of the streets gets too frantic for Ruth. Iris doesn't have strong feelings about churches one way or the other, but she remembers what the master has told her about St. Bavo's. Built as a Catholic cathedral, it's now in the hands of the Protestants. In foul weather it serves as a kind of indoor public park, where men and women and dogs go to shake off the wet. People stroll for exercise, conversation, and to view the decorations set against whitewashed walls. Iris listens to everything. She imagines bringing Clara here one day and saying all this in English to her. "Look, the coloured glass windows on the church's west wall, and how one panel of it was removed because it celebrated too gloriously some Catholic bishop of long ago. The slabs in the floor to remember the dead. The lozenges mounted on pillars to remember the dead. The dead, the dead, always with us." There's no memorial to her father, of course. Not here or anywhere. There weren't even prayers mumbled in his memory.